10 years ago, I was giving a speech also in Spain about developing a mobile application for healthcare services using REST services and collecting information from the user cell phone. That application was called to be a totally crazy idea 10 years ago, but today it's something that we can do pretty fast in 5-10 minutes. So what I try to tell you here is that the technology and the internet evolve so fast that something that we can imagine that is impossible to do today, it could be something that we can be using in 2-3 years. So we have to have an open mind and be ready with our application to be in that context. The ecosystem that we have today is very different from 10 years ago. We have 4 big operating systems. As you know, we have hundreds of different devices at different screen sizes. We also have different SDKs, and probably we will have 4 new players coming out through this year with new possibilities and probably new SDKs as well. We as developers, I think we have to focus in what we really want to do. We have to focus on a brilliant idea and implement it. And we don't have to worry about all the features that are not really important in the business logic of our application. I mean, we should try to outsource something that is not really relevant to the kind of application that we're trying to do. Let me explain you what I call the client-server life cycle. You can use any technology or any programming language that could fit in this cycle, this drawing. At the beginning, we usually have one device or one operating system, and we initially would develop a native application. We like the sexy look and feel of the device, and we want to use it. So we go native. After some time, there are a lot of different vendors, and there are a lot of different, maybe different operating systems. So we have to focus on keeping the same business logic across all the different devices. So we have to start developing different applications for each device or for each system. So what happened is that we try to move the native application to a server-side application and try to just create a view on the client and leave all the logic on the server side. But sooner or later, that different devices will become huge, and then we have a lot of fragmentation when developing something. So it's pretty difficult to even focus on just developing the common set of server logic. So in that case, what we have seen through these years is that when we have a high fragmentation in the market, vendors and the market, they try to standardize everything again and try to define a virtual common device. So we go back to something, a virtual common device, that's what I call it, and we go back to develop something native, something that works in this standard common device. But sooner or later, this standard device is going to be evolved again because different vendors want to provide different features. So we go back to fragmentation again. So this is a cycle that we've seen it in the last 10, 15 years, and I think it's going to keep on happening in the future. We also have to keep in mind that server-side application, they usually work in a browser or a runtime engine. And this is also a native application, and it also happens that this native application have different flavors in different platforms and different devices. So we have too many browsers again, or too many runtime engines again, and we have fragmentation again. So, in my opinion, the real truth is that fragmentation will always exist. It's impossible, almost impossible to break this problem. So we have to be ready and prepare our application to live in this environment. So we have to build on something which is independent from the device and from the server side point of view. So this is where Mobile Backend-as-a-Service or the cloud services come to help us. So what is a Mobile Backend-as-a-Service? What is a cloud services? We can define it as a set of different features and functionalities that we need in our application. We need in all of different applications that we may implement. And we want to use it without dealing with servers. I mean, we want to have user management, we have to store data, we want to get some money, we want to learn how to use our application, but we don't want to spend a lot of time in that. I mean, if I'm developing a game, I want to develop my game. I don't want to waste my time implementing a user registration feature or user verification feature. Let's see these features in a bit detail. So the user management is the feature that allows me to register user, verify them, integrate with different social networks, manage the session, and setting some security context that are allowing that the content is only local to the user so that group into the application context. I don't want to worry about that. I just want to use one single line of code to create a user. I don't worry about the rest of these features. The next one is data management. Data management is, we can call it like a database storage, where we can store storage our own service, our own data, and we can query whatever we need at any time that we need. It's like a database server, and we don't waste time setting up that server. We can use it from the very beginning. We don't have to set up anything else. By now, we know we really understand what is user management and what data management is. But what about analytics? Do we know what analytics is? Do we know how the user using our application? I mean, if we don't know how they use it, we don't know how to improve it. If we develop an application with 10 different screens, and the user don't use half of them, maybe we're wasting of time. We can improve our application by knowing which features are more used or less used by the users. So this is a way of improving the application, or a way to discover new features that we can introduce in the app. The typical analytics solution just provides an information about how many downloads my application have, or some user demographics. My application is very used in the US. We have 10,000 downloads in Italy, or in Germany, or in France. But what I really want to know is exactly how they're using my application. If the user clicks on the button twice, or this widget that I spent 2 weeks to implement it is not used at all in my app. This is the kind of application that I really want to know. So the best analytical approach of the wish list should be something like this. We want to analyze the whole set of data, the data that is relevant to me, and the data that is that I really know how it works. I don't really know. I'm not really interested. Well, I'm interested, of course, about how popular my application is, but I want to know how it is used. And the most important thing is that I also want to define metrics at any time. I mean, this is something that maybe when I develop something and I publish in the market, I don't know exactly what to measure. But after a few weeks or a few days, I discover a really bad behavior. I want to really understand what is happening there. I want to change and discover this data without redeploying my app. So there should be a console or an IDE where I can, not an IDE, so console or something like that, where I can change the settings for my analytics without the need to redeploy everything. Redeploying something in the market is a waste of time for me, and also introducing a small change may affect the user, so that's something that I want to do quite often. So, okay, we have user management and data management. We know how to improve apps, but maybe we love programming, but we want to be rich. We want to get some money from developing the application. So, one way to do it is by using ads. As you know, there are lots of different ad networks, and each of them they provide their own SDK. So if we want to use AdMob, we have to use the SDK. If we want to use Mobile, we have to use the SDK. If we want to change from one to the other, then we have to build the app again and redeploy again. So this is quite complex. So, for example, if I want to use different ad providers in Europe, US, or China, I should deploy different versions of the same app. And also, the typical solution, if, for example, Disney want to advertise directly in my application, I have to change my app to introduce their ads. So this is not the behavior that I really like to do. And this is something that is not relevant to my game application, for example. I want to get money, but I want to work with about how to do it. So cloud services should provide this wish list again. Sorry. No, that's fine. This wish list for getting money from my apps. In the US, if I want to use 20% of the ads from AdMob and 80% from Mobile, I just go to my dashboard and set it, and that's fine. And then I could define in my dashboard that in China I want to use smart media and media, smart math, sorry, and media with those percentages as well. And just set it in my console. I don't need to redeploy my application again. Also, probably you know about Japan and China. They're very interesting markets that we should keep in mind if we want to get some money. If we want to deploy our application there and use their ad networks in Asia, probably we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to get money. We don't know how to get paid from them. We don't know which is the best ad provider in Asia. So if we use, like in the previous slide, if we use a different SDK for each different network, it would be very difficult to implement. Again, if we can choose one provider in a console and change it, and if we don't like how it works, just change the setting in the console. It will be pretty easy to get some money, even in those important markets. And well, probably you already know that developing mobile application is not easy. It's quite complex. We also have to deal with portability, compatibility. We also know that mobile users are more demanding than regular users. So we need to really select the right tools, SDKs, monitoring, dashboards, and everything that help us to focus on developing our application. And again, same idea as before, outsourcing something that is not really relevant to what we are doing. If I want to develop, I mean, it's important, but I don't want to spend time managing user and managing app networks. I want to develop 10 game application, but I don't want to develop 10 user management APIs for my application. So that's a point. So, okay, you may say, I'm convinced I want to use mobile cloud services. So, how can I do it? There are many providers. There are big players, there are medium-sized players, there are small players, and probably we will see a lot of more players coming throughout this year. So we need a criteria to select which is the best provider for our application. This is a simple list of how can we select a provider. We can have a look at how they scale the application. Also, if they give us a chance to do more than just mobile application, they provided an infrastructure that allows us to use our data to create a website or something like that. Something that for me is very important is support. Accurate documentation and very good code examples, it's something that makes my life easier. I don't want to waste time at all to look at the source code to understand how something works, because there's no documentation for that. That's something that makes me really upset when I have to do that. Wasting hours in something that should be just 10 seconds to check. Also, vendor viability. As you've seen before, there are many players. We don't really know who's going to be successful or who's going to be in the business in 3 years. So we have to be careful with that, because maybe we can select a vendor that is not going to be in the backend next year, so we are going to kill our application pretty soon. And of course, we have to know exactly what kind of application do we want to develop and which is our preferred language, programming language. There are some vendors that are more oriented to gain features, or others that provide you more features for business applications. So you have to know what kind of applications you want to implement. It's also a criteria that you have to use for selecting the right provider. So the essential idea that I want to tell you during my speech is that probably we don't know which is the best provider of today. We know exactly what we want to do. It's just a wish list that I showed you before about data management, user management, analytics, and monetization. That's the wish list that I showed you before about data management, user management, analytics, and monetization. This is the wish list that we should ask to any provider to give us. So if they give what we really need, then we only have to focus on implementing our application. And the rest is something that will be happen transparently for us. And that's all. Do you have any questions?